С комментариями о божественной милости Аче Бхактивиданты Свами Шрила Прабхупады.
So we continue to read Sri Isopanishad with the commentaries of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and today's mantra is 11th, and we continue to read commentary. I will remind you what the Vedic science is. Upanishads are Vedas, explained philosophically. The goal of this knowledge is to explain the relationship, our relationship with God and the world around us. This is the brightest field of knowledge. You have the relationship with the absolute truth and you get knowledge. This is how it starts. The Isopanishad starts. We address the wholeness. If there's some knowledge that is not connected to the wholeness, it's not a Vedic science, it's not a Vedic knowledge. It is said that there are also lots of whole parts that are coming out of the wholeness, and they are all independently full and whole, but you cannot, it doesn't mean that this wholeness can vary, it's so whole, and you cannot enlarge it or make it smaller. So we use this terminology that we might not understand, but let's have an example. We'll take a human society. Other branches of Vedas, they explain what is the connection with the whole society. And we need to, in order to understand it, we need to treat it as a whole. And Vedas explain that wholeness can be whole only when it's connected to the absolute truth, to the whole. Part of the human society should be connected with the absolute truth. Part of the society should be in charge or regulating, managing this. Part of the human society should be supporting the society by financially, and another one should serve all of the previous. And we don't know how to combine all these different classes of people with different philosophical views, worldviews, and different social backgrounds. So there's a vast variety of people and types that we cannot combine together. In order to do it, we need to study Isopanishad. We should combine it without destroying the variety. And we have seen many wars in the history, conflicts. You remember it. Communism, communistic society tried to destroy everyone but the workers, the class of workers, and they thought, this is how we're gonna attain this unity. But it's impossible for the nature to exist this way. Every part should be connected with the wholeness. Then there can be peace. So this is why we study Isopanishad. It's not some mental speculations or the topic for some arguments. This knowledge has been lost a long time ago, and at least 5,000 years ago. In order to achieve this in practice, we need to study it in the beginning of the Isopanishad as an introduction. A lecture by Srila Prabhupada is given that he gave in London. And he was explaining what Vedas were. And everything, it's also connected with us, with every one of us, and even with me, the lector. In order to give this knowledge, we all need to be supported by the parampara, the chain of teachers and disciples. Vedas is considered to be apaurusheya, the superhuman knowledge. It was not a man-made. It's not a man-made. Then this way it's faultless. Well, if it's so valuable, why have we forgotten it? How come we got away from it? But Bhagavad Gita is saying that the nature of the material world is that the religion and everything will degrade. And Isopanishad is saying that in order to get this knowledge, we need to cultivate knowledge, not ignorance. We lost it because we were cultivating ignorance. We need to admit that my knowledge is imperfect. Even when Srila Prabhupada was talking to the scientists, and the scientists were saying, yes, we admit that our knowledge is imperfect, but we are on the way. And then Srila Prabhupada was saying, then you cannot state that you know something, like evolution and everything, the origin of life, or your theories about the space cosmos, then your feelings are not perfect. Then all your science is imperfect. And one of the scientists said, yes, it's logical, but you're also imperfect. And Prabhupada says, yes, that's why I am being supported by the perfect knowledge. I am imperfect, but when I recite from Vedas, I convey this knowledge. I don't make any mistakes. And the difference is, I know I am imperfect, but I act on a platform, on a perfect platform. But you know you're imperfect, and you're acting on an imperfect platform. And your decision this way is going to be wrong because you would make mistakes in your personal life and in your scientific life. So one of the four imperfections that we have is our feelings are imperfect. We know our organs are not perfect, and we can compare it with the animals, what they have. And we also have to use some technology and equipment. We don't hear or see things, all things around us. So the feelings are imperfect, and we tend to make mistakes. It's another one. And the third one, we tend to deceive and lie. And the last one, fourth, is we are in illusion. We're covered by illusion. And Maya, or illusion, is so attractive. It provides us with some attractive things, and we choose out of a whole variety, we choose something that is pleasant to us, to our feelings, and this is the way of degradation. The sense gratification way is a way of degradation. If we want to get the knowledge, the Vedic knowledge, we need to stop this tendency of sense gratification. This is where all the civilization goes right now. The whole world is trying to satisfy the feelings. And the center of it is hedonism. The desire to satisfy one's ego, one's feelings. So in order to attain this perfect Vedic knowledge, we need to have the control of senses. And if we want to study from Isopanishad or Bhagavad Gita, and really understand the essence of these books, we need to start controlling our feelings. At least we need to start this process. And it starts with the tongue and what we eat. If you able to control these tongue demands, you would feel the happiness of life. Everything we feel is the demand of our feelings or senses. And like when I'm enjoying the food, I'm just being attached to some kind of a taste. And in order to sell more of certain things, I would just add some of the chemicals to make this taste brighter. Everyone knows that smoking is bad or eating certain things is bad, but people are going after it. The drug addiction is the same thing. How is it connected with this? It's connected with the tongue control. We don't control our tongue, and the taste is driving us. Or there's another thing. It's really hard to keep silence. This is another tongue control. You want to speak always. But when you are talking about this Vedic science, it is being compared to Mananam, the silence. So you should know how to, you should learn how to use your tongue and utilize it the way it should be utilized. This way, you're gonna have conscious living and it will bring you happiness. Imagine your taste can connect you with God. It's not only vision that you have, but it's connected with the Lord. This way, you feel the world differently around you. So, ancient people and Vedic culture, they had this connection with the Supreme and the nature and human society and animals, and they found everything valuable, those things that people miss today, the things that miss out. There are so many people dying in a car accidents or plane crash or overdose or the COVID, any pandemics or wars, and there are so many psychological problems, psychic problems, and everyone is just saying it's normal. Why? Because for us, it's impersonal. Let's take Dostoevsky, the writer, great writer. Why is he writes this way? How come he understands these fine details? It appeared to be that Dostoevsky, he could appreciate he could see, he could treat any evil in the world as something bad that is being done to him personally. This is a state of consciousness. Today, our consciousness is more or less impersonal. It's more like a cultivating of ignorance. We are becoming indifferent. We think people's society, human society, is just some it's like an obstacle in my way. There are so many of them, masses of people, and it seems like we are preventing each other from living. We understand that there is no way you can live without relationship, and I need a family and everything. But I cannot find happiness in my personal life. And Isopanishad is saying, Om Purnam Idam Purnam. From one wholeness, a lot of other parts are coming out that are whole as well. Everything should be connected with God. This is the essence of Isopanishad. What is preventing us to connect my life, the society, everything with God? Something prevents me from connecting. What is the reason? The first mantra is giving explanation to it. It says, Ishavasya idam sarvam. You need to admit that everything belongs to God. It's just as hard as to admit that I am imperfect. They say, I am not an ignorant. I have a diploma, I have a high education, I have some rewards, and if I have that, then it's even harder to admit. If I am considered to be great in the human society, then I cannot admit this fact. The first mantra of Isopanishad is breaking this principle. It is said that everything, even your body, belongs to God. If a human knows that everything belongs to someone, and he acts in this state of consciousness, he can live for hundreds of years happily. He would not be tied by the laws of karma. It would be called, like Bhagavad Gita says, akarma, nishkarma. Karma that's given the liberation to. Otherwise, akarma is giving you lots of problems. You need to deal with chipization and vaccination, and you can't pass any borders, or you cannot make a single step because of the primitive thinking. We need to have high thinking and simple living. Vedic science is not suggesting us to convey, to develop these technologies. It's not like they didn't know this. It's not like they were arrogant or ignorant. They also could transmit the knowledge or transmit signals around, but those could do who could control the feelings. Technologies are being used by any sinners or evil man. You can cheat with the technologies. The life becomes very difficult if it's being used by people with bad qualities. We have no trust to anyone, no relationship. Everyone is trying to satisfy its own ego. And the Isopanishad is telling us that everything you do, you need to do in order to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not a human being. Why is it so? We are being worried about human society, isn't it? Why do we need to satisfy God? But we don't know this fact, and people are living just like cows do. People are turning into cows. I will explain this. It's not an offense. I'm not trying to offend anyone. So imagine there is a field and with cows or horses. What does it see? It sees some grass, some food around it, and some grass in front of it, of a cow or animal, is looking better. Did you notice that they are always walking forward? This is the angle of their vision. They see the grass. The grass, it looks better that way. So they're going that way. And they don't know that it's the same grass. Same things you can put in your mouth. Even though you have more grass somewhere, your mouth is still the same. Its size is still the same. You can't get it more. I guess the nature organizes this way so you don't take all the grass that you have and you just move forward. So if we don't understand this fact, we will become a society of horses or cows. The Isopanishad is saying, don't cultivate these nescience. I will remind you the text. There are two things that we're dealing with here. Only one who can learn the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. If one cannot distinguish these things, then he is trapped in the illusion. And we need to understand that I think something or do something, but I need to understand if it's nescience or knowledge culture. According to the Vedic knowledge, it's ignorance. This is the knowledge that is being given to us. The knowledge is partial this way. We need to be careful and to know what is the field of absolute truth and the partial truth. The first step into Maya, we can control. The second one or third one is hard to control. It's a trap. The grasp of Maya is so strong and it has its claws turning inwards. When it grabs you, you can go in very easily, but you cannot go backward. Easy to get in, easy to take the drug with the joy, but it's hard to go back. Same thing with the ideas. First time you make a bad thing, you think Well, there was a reason for it, but it was not correct, it was not right. But then you make another step, you take another decision, and it's your life philosophy then. And you judge yourself from this point. So this way you don't even understand by comparing yourself not with God, but with others. You think, I'm still good enough. And we continue to read this commentary. We're gonna finish it today. From His kingdom, the personality of Godhead sends His bona fide servants to propagate this message by which one can return to Godhead. And sometimes the Lord comes Himself to do this work. Since all living beings are His beloved sons, His parts and parcels, God is more sorry than we ourselves to see the sufferings we are constantly undergoing in this material condition. The miseries of this material world serve to identify, remind us of our incompatibility with dead matter. Intelligent living entities generally take note of these reminders and engage themselves in the culture of Vidya, or transcendental knowledge. Human life is the best opportunity for the culture of spiritual knowledge, and a human being who does not take advantage of this opportunity is called a Naradama, the lowest of human beings. It is said, Srila Prabhupada is saying that the Lord is sending His representatives, His servants, and other religions also state this. Periodically, someone is coming to this earth. If you study or analyze the whole religion in this world, then you would say that every 500 years there is some kind of representative or saint that would come. And the majority of saints came from India. This is the history of Mahabharata. Mahabharata is still alive, it's very attractive, and everything is being explained in the history of this earth is being explained in Mahabharata. Bharat means it's the name of the country on this planet, according to the name of the king, great king, and before it was called Ilavritavarsha. And technically, this earth is called Bhumi. It's a personality who is in control, in charge of this planet. Modern people, they don't know it or they don't believe it. They think it's just a metaphor. But Vedas say it's reality. Every planet is being controlled. There's a supervisor of every star, every planet. There's a hierarchy. And there is someone in control. And we have a chance to learn about this creation. If we pass it by, then we are called Naradama. We don't have qualities. Nara means human and Dhamma, the lowest, like rascal, the one with the bad qualities. The most poisonous quality is envy. No, there is no Bhumi. I am the master. There are no gods but me. This is the way of thinking of Naradama. You know how Prabhupada addressed Naradama? He was saying, you exist, right? Yes, we do. Let the God exist as well. Why don't you let him? These are Naradamas. The path of avidya, or advancement of material knowledge for sense gratification, is the path of repeated birth and death. So from time to time they come in every 500 years. We know the Muhammad and we know Jesus Christ, but Lord Chaitanya is not widely known yet. We know it took a lot of time for the people to learn about these messiahs. And it's been only 500 years old that Lord Chaitanya came in India. The path of avidya, or advancement of material knowledge for sense gratification, is the path of repeated birth and death. As he exists spiritually, the living entity has no birth or death. Birth and death apply to the outward covering of the spirit soul, the body. Death is compared to the taking off, and birth to the putting on of onward garments. Foolish human beings who are grossly absorbed in the culture of avidya and e-science do not mind this cruel process. Enamored with the beauty of the illusory energy, they undergo the same miseries repeatedly and do not learn any lessons from the laws of nature. When people are dealing with these principles, they're saying, I'm being stuck in the same place. It is called ignorance.
Если вы встречаете женщину в плохой одежде,
you know, when you step on the rakes,
в хорошей одежде по-другому не относитесь. Это иллюзия.
It's hitting you hard.
А грабли одни и те же, и той, и другой женщины.
You can. There's an example of a woman. It's nature the same, but when you deal with a woman, you get a certain result if you exploit a woman. If it doesn't matter, the result would be the same if you exploit it, whether it's beautiful or not, attractive or not. It's ignorance. Therefore, the culture of vidya, or transcendental knowledge, is essential for a human being. Sense enjoyment in the diseased material condition must be restricted as far as possible. Unrestricted sense enjoyment in this bodily condition is the path of ignorance and death. Everyone knows it. If you have too much of this sense gratification, you're gonna get sick and your life's gonna be short. Doctors know that. The living entities are not without spiritual senses. Every living being in his original spiritual form has all the senses which are now materially manifested. Being covered by the material body and mind, the activities of the material senses are perverted reflections of the activities of the original spiritual senses. In his diseased condition, the spirit soul engages in material activities under the material covering. Real sense enjoyment is possible only when the disease of materialism is removed. It is said that the senses can give you enjoyment, but only when you are cured from materialism, because senses is just your covering. You cannot feel real happiness or enjoyment through these feelings. in our pure spiritual form, free from all material contamination, real enjoyment of the senses is possible. A patient must regain his health before he can truly enjoy sense pleasure again. So our feelings are being compared with this having illness. It's hard for the diseased person to use light because you feel irritated, or some food, tasty food, might feel tasteless, and your friends are visiting you, and they're being told that he's sick, he cannot hang out with you. Even though he understands that he used to enjoy it, it's nice to be engaged in a favorite business and have the relationship with friends. But so in life we have so many nice and great things. We're surrounded by people are getting tired of it very easily, and it is called a disease. The Vedic principle is that everyone should be happy, not only humans. And it's possible. Bhagavad Gita is saying that it is possible if we can regulate our sense activity. The mind is the main sense. If we can control the mind and use it properly and have a positive mind, then we will always be happy. We can withstand big austerities, and we're going to be healthy. So health is the state of mind. This is the first place. And then the body health goes. Thus, the aim of human life should not be to enjoy perverted sense enjoyment, but to cure the material disease. Aggravation of the material disease is no sign of knowledge, but a sign of avidya, ignorance. For good health, a person should not increase his fever from 105 to 107 degrees, but should reduce his temperature to the normal 98.6. So Prabhupada is telling us our temperature right now is critical. It's 105 or 107. That should be the aim of human life. The modern trend of material civilization is to increase the temperature of the feverish material condition, which has reached the point of 107 degrees in the form of atomic energy. So the death is close. Meanwhile, the foolish politicians are crying that at any moment the world may go to hell. So they are complaining. They're saying, you know, what kind of world we're living in? But they're rascals because they made it this way. What a complicated world we're living. The world was not creating an atomic bomb for you. Saints were not giving you this bomb. Or the machine guns. Jesus Christ was not giving you any weapons. Any saints were bringing you nothing but the knowledge, but they were crucified. And this is the world we're living in. It's complicated. Everything is so, the Lord is so far away, it's impossible to perceive it. It's easier to make an atomic bomb because the Lord will not protect me. But in practice, it appears to be that it's more difficult to live in the material world. There is no exit in this. That's the result of the advancement of material knowledge and the neglect of the most important part of life, the culture of spiritual knowledge. Sri Isopanishad herein warns that we must not follow this dangerous path leading to death. On the contrary, we must develop the culture of spiritual knowledge so that we may become completely free from the cruel hands of death. This does not mean that all activities for the maintenance of the body should be stopped. There is no question of stopping activities, just as there is no question of whipping out one's temperature altogether when trying to recover from the disease. To make the best use of the bad bargain, this is the appropriate expression. The culture of spiritual knowledge necessitates the help of the body and mind. Therefore, maintenance of the body and mind is required if we are to reach our goal. The normal temperature should be maintained at 98.6 degrees, and the great sages and saints of India have attempted to do this by a balanced program of spiritual and material knowledge. The balanced life. So material knowledge is ignorance, and spiritual knowledge is something that balances it. They never allow the misuse of human intelligence for disease sense gratification. So ignorance means we misuse spiritual energies. Material energy is in ignorance, but if we use it appropriately, then it becomes spiritual. Human activities diseased by a tendency toward sense gratification have been regulated in the Vedas under the principles of salvation of ignorance. This system employs religion, economics, development, sense gratification, and salvation, but at the present moment people have no interest in religion or salvation. They have only one aim in life, sense gratification, and in order to achieve this end, they make plans for economic development. Misguided men think that religion should be maintained because it contributes to economic development, which is required for sense gratification. Thus, in order to guarantee further sense gratification after death in heaven, there is some system of religious observance. But this is not the purpose of religion. The path of religion is actually meant for self-realization, and economic development is required just to maintain the body in a sound, healthy condition. A man should lead a healthy life with a sound mind just to realize vidya, true knowledge, which is the aim of human life. This life is not meant for working like an ass or for cultivating avidya, for sense gratification. The path of vidya is most perfectly presented in Srimad Bhagavatam, which directs a human being to utilize his life to inquire into the Absolute Truth. The Absolute Truth is realized step by step as Brahman, Paramatma, and finally Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. The Absolute Truth is realized by the broad-minded man who has attained knowledge and detachment by following the 18 principles of the Bhagavad Gita described in the purport to Mantra 10. The central purpose of these 18 principles is the attainment of transcendental devotional service to the personality of Godhead. Therefore, all classes of men are encouraged to learn the art of devotional service of the Lord. These are the practical instructions. What is the value of these instructions? We are getting from the platform of mind's speculation into the practical usage of this, the ability to use this knowledge. is a perfection.
описывает Шрила Рупа Госвами.
The guaranteed path to the aim of Vidya is described by Sri Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which we have presented in English as the nectar of devotion. The culture of Vidya is summarized in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.14 in the following words.
Tam pati Shratavya kirtitavyascha Teyah pujyascha nityada.
Therefore, with one-pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. Unless religion, economic development, and sense gratification aim toward the attainment of devotional service to the Lord, they are all simply different forms of nisigns, as Isopanishad indicates in the following mantras. So if we don't have the relationship, loving relationship with the Lord, it would be just ignorance. The cultivation of knowledge is love. The culture of knowledge is love. Love is the highest essence of life. Love to a human being is a part of wholeness. Like if we treat family, we take family, or the nation, while it still has some traditions, the love would combine, unite everyone, but it would be ununited if we deal with other families or other nations. If it's individual, this individuality is the reason to opposite my family and my nation. I love my family, my nation, and I hate your family and your nation. Sometimes it grows into a large and scaled conflicts. It can be genocide or mass massacres, discrimination. We see it every day. We don't have knowledge in the relationship, but it is said that love should be attained by loving the whole. I'm not this body. This purport starts with this question: who am I? There are two ways we can think. I am the body. I am not this body. There is nothing else. When I say I am this body, I have so many determinations, like who are my parents, where have been I born, what's my sex, gender, whether it's nationality, and all these metrics are given in my passport, the date of birth, the date of death. And regarding this science of spiritual science, we don't have any parameters to write down. There's no gender, there's no age, there's no nationality. Who am I? I cannot understand it without God. I need to connect myself with the Lord, then I will get some parameters and metrics to measure it and understand. The first thing we write down is das. I am the servant, not the master. I am the servant of the Lord. This is the first identification of the soul. That is eternally serve the Lord. And it does it lovingly and affectionately, not because someone's pushing. This is the affectionate state. And this way we understand that there is a form, spiritual form that the soul has, and individuality. In this way, it has a relationship with the Lord. But nowadays, so many things can be said. about the matter, but nothing we can say about spirit. What is soul? How does it live? So the first step is to enter the spiritual life, is to serve the Lord, to get on this path of unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Lord. And the rest will be revealed by itself. So our education is going through devotional service. Without the service, loving service, we cannot have any knowledge or education. Sometimes people are trying to behave on public, but this is not culture. This is not the way you present yourself in public, but the way you present yourself in the family. Sometimes he's so nice in public and he's kicking his wife at home and she's hitting him back. This is the real culture. So in the age of Kali, people are trying to cultivate ignorance. They're on the public. They show their best things or hide their imperfection. They hide it with their properties and something. But in Satya Yuga, Dvapara Yuga, and Treta Yuga, people were not hiding their defects. They could frankly speak on any topic. They had enough dignity. Because in the age of Kali, your reputation is the most valuable thing. You hide things from people. But for those who already developed this devotion to the Lord, we need to cultivate the knowledge. The good name starts with the unalloyed service in order to get no gain. And we will leave some time to have questions. Do we have some questions? How can I make my own decision if I am controlled by karma? Good question. Karma belongs to body, but it does not apply to the soul. The body will be born, and according to some factors, it will be destined to live a certain time, certain period of time, and some conditions, and it is destined to die in the end. But Bhagavad Gita is saying the soul is eternal. It does not get burned or die. How do we choose? Like when you're sitting in a prison, you can, your choice to dream about freedom, right? You still can think about freedom. But thinking about freedom, you are being changed. I'm not sure if today people are being changed in the prisons nowadays. But before, when people were taken away from the society, isolated, like Ashwatthama, when he was sitting there and thinking about what he was doing, he was purified. Probably it cannot be applied to prisons nowadays. And people are making their free life in prison. They're against this society nowadays. So it's a different topic, but we utilize this isolation in order to improve ourselves. And today,
И вот думать мы можем
people, they don't know what to think
о
about.
душе, о его деяниях,
It's
о его
good to think
наставлениях,
about God and His
полной
deeds
свободы.
and the soul,
думая об этом,
and we are free to do it.
Наша
And
карма
by
очищается.
thinking about it, our karma is being
Сжигается карма.
purified
Если
and
думаете о
being
Боге,
burned
карма
out
постепенно сжигается, превращается в
gradually,
пепел. То есть
becomes
знание, в чем
into
его сила,
dust.
в Пурана говорится,
The
подобно
knowledge
огню,
is
который
power
сжигает в пепел все
because
дрова кармы.
Vedas say it's
Но
like a
начинайте с того,
fire
что просто
that
думайте,
burn
читайте,
all
размышляйте.
the woods
В этом
of our
свобода.
sins. So you are free to think
Павленко, скажите, пожалуйста, тела у нас
in an elevated state.
из-за прошлых желаний, а души разные почему?
Души разные почему?
We have
Вечные
different
слова.
souls. Why is it that we're different? We have same desires, but because it's eternity and relationship with the Lord, we have different relationship.
Ответ — это вечность, видите?
The answer is eternity.
Ильшат Ильясов, можно ли учиться искусству управления, менеджменту неупреданных?
Can we learn management
Они могут даже лучше.
not from devotees?
Тут это не важно.
Oh, yes,
преданные,
sure.
непреданные. Вопрос
It doesn't
квалификации
matter.
есть. Например,
You have the
взять
qualification,
великих демонов. У них есть в чем
you
поучиться.
can teach.
Мы у них не учимся демоническим.
If we take like great demons,
Квалификация имеется в виду.
but still they have
Реалисты, они победили,
some
победили весь
some
мир.
qualifications,
Квалификации, они технологии
and
изобретают,
we
эти
can
технологии
learn from them.
изобретают.
You see how they
Эти технологии сейчас позволяют построить, скажем, огромные
achieve
дом за
things
полгода
and
всего.
how they
То, что
build
раньше строилось десятками
things
лет
quick
веками,
or make some
сегодня
weapon.
они делают за полгода, за
It
год.
used to take so much time to
Особенно
construct
много грибы
something.
растут вообще. Они сейчас
Nowadays
общаются
they
через
building those
сотовые связи,
skyscrapers and they using
это квалификация
satellites
материальная.
and cell
Материальная
phones.
квалификация.
This is material qualification.
Они лучше
We
владеют
can learn it,
магией,
yes. They are better
чем
in Maya,
люди, посвятившие жизнь Богу.
operate in Maya, than those
Если мы хотим
who
как бы научиться чему-то материальному, это
engage in the spiritual path. So they are good teachers, to learn these material aspects.
общаясь с демоном, уже
But be
стать демоном.
careful, when you deal with a demon, you will become a demon. That's why devotees, they're not inspired to learn from demons.
Правильно желать в этом мире, если чистого желания служить Богу пока нет. Как
What is the best way to make wishes in this world if I don't have a pure wish to serve the Lord?
Поскольку
Well, gradually,
душа,
because we are the soul, we have spiritual feelings, and gradually it's being awakened.
происходит естественно.
So don't worry.
Например,
Through the
ребенка
practice, you get
рождается
it.
ребенок с ногами. Но
Like
ходить не
a
может.
child is being born with the legs, right?
Ноги же есть.
But he cannot walk immediately.
Но все
He has
знают,
legs.
он пойдет позже.
He doesn't walk. But everyone knows he will walk.
Несколько раз попадает там, но потом
After
встанет
some
на ноги, начнет ходить, потом бегать,
Exercises,
двигаться, все.
he would
Так что у нас
just
уже душа есть.
run and fall,
Но
and
пока еще
with the
нет любви
time he'll
такой,
be
нету
fine.
то, что здесь
So we have the
описывается.
soul,
Да, подождите,
we are the
она
soul.
же есть немножко практики.
We need some
Это
practice
разовьется.
to learn how to use it,
Обязательно
and
разовьется. Любовь дремлет в
we will
сердце
develop
каждого
it.
живого существа. Она уже
Love
есть.
is
Нужна практика, чтобы она
sleeping
пробудилась.
in the heart of every living entity. All we need is practice.
Пожалуйста, я хочу служить гуру.
I want to serve Guru.
Я действительно служу, а не нахожусь в
What is,
Какой показатель?
how do I know if I'm really serving him
Просто
and not being in
участвую в
illusion?
миссии духовного учителя,
Well,
потому что я вижу, что
in the
это
beginning,
такие
it's just a formal activity.
соединяюсь пока так. Если пока не ясно,
If you still don't know, then it's
как мы сказали,
you
ноги
just
есть,
follow.
немножко тренировки надо.
You
Наши мысли
get into this society, and you stay
Мысли,
in the society of devotees.
наши мысли не обусловлены нашей кармой и гунами, да?
обусловлены.
Our thoughts are not being conditioned by karma and guna. No. Yes, it is conditioned.
Желания нет, могут быть не обусловлены.
It's
Желания
conditioned
могут
by our desires might
греховные.
not be
Но
conditioned.
он кается перед Богом.
Like say there's a sinful man, but he will be regretting in front of the Lord.
Это его связь с Богом сохраняется.
This is his relationship with the Lord,
Что вы
it
скажете о том,
remains.
что человек не уверен в то, что солнце завтра обязательно взойдет?
If someone is not sure if
И нарушит
the sun will rise
Еще раз
up
начало
tomorrow,
вопроса. Если человек не уверен,
Да.
what would you say to
Что
this person?
солнце завтра обязательно взойдет.
то
That
что?
Что Бог может это изменить?
that the Lord can change it and go against His law.
Кто-то растолковать не может вопрос?
Can someone explain me the question?
Еще раз давай попытаемся понять.
Let's hear it again.
Вот поэтому я хочу понять, о чем вопрос же есть. Ну-ка еще раз прочитай медленно.
Что вы скажете на то, что человек не уверен в том,
When someone is not sure if the sun will rise
Я не
tomorrow,
уверен в этом, да. Что я на это могу сказать?
what can you say?
Болен.
You are
Знаете, действительно
ill,
слышался про ядерную войну.
then
Наше поколение, мы только об этом и
you're
слышали.
sick.
Нас пугало
Like
правительство, война, война.
in the
ядерная
Soviet times,
бомба,
we were
США,
every day we were
СССР, враги
told that
закрытые были.
United States will drop
Люди
some
были не
atomic
уверены,
bombs
что
on
завтра
us,
солнце взойдет,
and people were not sure
ядерная
that
бомба будет.
the sun will rise again tomorrow
И когда я начал практиковать,
and that they will drop the bombs. And when I started to practice,
жили
were
на 15
young,
этаже общежития
I was living on the
в
15th floor
Петербурге, в Ленинграде.
of the dormitory,
И
of
однажды
students'
случилось
dormitory.
очень необычное.
And one day, something
Да, я лег
unusual
спать,
happened.
включил свет.
When I went to bed and I
Сквозь
turned
закрытые
my
веки я увидел
light
яркий
off
слепительный свет вибрирующий.
and I closed my eyes, but still I could see the bright
Сквозь закрытые
light.
веки. Светло, как днем стало. Я открыл глаза, и
It was
действительно
like
вокруг все белым
daylight.
светом.
And I opened my
Я
eyes. Everything
вскочил
was
к окну,
so
и все до горизонта было
white,
освещено, вибрировало. Я подумал,
and
сразу первое, что подумал,
everything
ядерный взрыв.
was
Почему? Что была
enlightened,
программа.
illuminated. And the first thing I thought
Это
was
болезнь.
the nuclear
Нас
attack.
запугивали. Средства массовой
It's a
информации только об этом
disease.
говорили, что вот.
The mass media were
Вот. По секретам
talking about
всему
this.
свету говорили военнослужащие, что уже такие попытки были,
It's
уже были
almost
такие тревоги,
there
уже кнопки были нажаты где-то как-то.
that someone
как-то
was
это избежать.
already making this
Вот
effort
такая была ситуация, представьте. Люди
to drop
боялись
the
заводить
bomb, and
семьи,
people
боялись
were
рожать
afraid
детей на
of
этой почве.
getting
Понимаете,
married
это болезнь
and
ума.
getting children. This is a
Так,
disease
если вы не уверены, что
of the
завтра
mind.
солнце зайдет,
If you are not sure that tomorrow the sun will rise, then you need to make sure
вы взяли
you're listening
сердце,
to the right person.
это становится параноидальным, поймите. Неважно,
It
может зайдет,
will
может не зайдет, у
make
меня
you
долг есть.
paranoid. It doesn't matter if the sun is
Вера в
there
Бога должна
tomorrow,
быть. Когда
but
Прабхупаде
I have
сказали
my
об этом,
duties.
что вы знаете, что сейчас происходит
I need
в духовном
to
мире.
do
Чего
my
они достигли?
things.
Они уже такой накопили
When
ядерный
someone
потенциал,
said to
что могут
Prabhupada
взорвать
that,
всю
you know,
планету.
what they've done
Это
right now,
шок. Тут сейчас привычно, да?
they have so much of
Тогда
nuclear
этот
power
мир
they can
дрожал просто.
explode.
Что когда показали
explode the whole
ядерную
planet.
бомбу, съемку, люди в ужасе были.
People were so afraid and
Нам в
scared
школе
of
показали, что такое
seeing
Нагасаки и последствия. Мы
Hiroshima and
в
Nagasaki
ужасе нас держали в школе. И Прабхупаде сказали, вот сейчас такой
and
ядерный
seeing
потенциал
those
в мире,
bombs.
помните, что теперь можно
So
разрушить
Prabhupada
всю
was said
планету полностью вообще,
that
без разбора.
they have so much nuclear power they can destroy the whole planet. And Prabhupada
Недостаточно
said
ядерного
calmly,
потенциала, нужно еще сам
it's not enough to have the nuclear power.
здоровый ум.
There should be
Не поддавайтесь вот этим как бы,
an
провокациям.
allowance of God to do it.
Умереть неважно, можно откуда, как угодно умереть.
So don't worry
С
about
подвода
that.
упасть и умереть. Можно
You
утонуть,
can die anytime.
а можно в океане.
You
Какая
can
разница?
stumble on something and
Не
fall
доходим до
down.
такого состояния, что жить невозможно,
hit.
все веру теряем во все.
And we should not
как правильно
take
оценивать свой духовный
ourselves
опыт
to this state when we cannot think
Нужно ли
clearly.
вообще? Иногда нужно, когда мы себя переоцениваем. Тогда нужно задуматься. А как задуматься? Как я пойму, что я себя переоцениваю? А кто-то скажет,
What
что
about
это неприятно.
the self-esteem if it's too high?
Как неприятно. Вот это
If
что-то
I
противное.
overvalue myself,
Но если вы
is it
заняты
required?
самосознанием,
Sometimes
вы
it's
думаете,
required.
тут причем, да, что со
But
мной? Это
if
видно
I'm
с
engaged in the
прошлого, или сейчас
self-realization,
делаю так. Если
I
я
will
был
analyze
смиренный
myself.
и вел себя правильно,
If I was
выполнял свои
humble
обязанности,
and meek
то,
before
значит,
and I
причина
was
в
following
прошлом.
my duties and it happened to me
раз ко мне
then
так
it means
обращаются и со мной так
it's
поступают.
my
Значит, я еще
karma,
ношу
my
какие-то
past
качества с прошлой жизни,
activities
не вижу их.
influence me that I
Вот
don't
это
see.
самосознание.
This is self-realization.
Таким образом. Так можно понять, что я где-то
This
высоко.
way we can understand that I'm arrogant in some ways.
Ксения Фиксель спрашивает, сыну 17,5
My son is 17 and a half,
он уже хочет жить с девушкой,
but he wants to live
снимают ее родители.
in a separate
Помощи не просит,
apartment
но берет,
with
если
her,
помогаешь, доход не имеет. Но желает
with his
зарабатывать
girlfriend,
свободное время от учебы. Он знаком с семьей девушки, но
and
знакомить ее со своими родителями не хочет.
he knows
Отпустить его или запретить к ней переезжать, чтобы жил дома на обеспечении родителей, учился и дружил с девочкой.
Если пробудилось вожделение, вряд ли что-то сделать. Я думаю, что вы просто не справитесь с ним.
should I prohibit their relationship,
что он
that they
должен
want to
учиться,
live together and rent a
помолвка
place,
может быть, да, но надо учеба.
or
Вы же
what
понимаете,
should I
вы
do?
старший
Well,
взрослый. Но
if there is
почему
a
спрашиваете?
lust
Потому что вы не
awaken,
справляетесь с ним. Вот в чем
it
причина.
means
Он вас
you
не
cannot
слушает.
really
Я не
stop
знаю, что.
him from anything.
Если там пробудилось
He will
вожделение,
not listen
и
to
вы не
you.
справляетесь, то никто не справится.
No one will
Приходится
help you if
работать.
you
Если вожделение
can't
враг живого существа.
coordinate the lust.
Сегодня вот такая картина. Молодым людям плевать на родителей, на все
Youth
остальное.
don't really care
На
about
любые
the
вещи. Если
opinion
вожделение
of
пробуждается, все остальное плевать просто.
the public or parents.
Поэтому как быть?
So what do you do?
Пока не знаю.
I don't know.
Духовно развивайтесь.
You need some spiritual
Возможно, у
advancement,
вас появится вес.
spiritual education. With the time, you will find good
В вашем
words
сердце, опыте.
in your heart
Хотя в своем отечестве пророка нет, говорится.
to do it. Even though they
Трудно
say
родственникам проповедовать.
there is no Messiah in your own
Держитесь как-то.
land, but
Даниэль
I wish you the best.
управлять своей сексуальной энергией и копить позже.
How to control
Копить
your
ужас.
sexual energy and get more ojas.
Сексуальная энергия
Sexual energy
не то, что это опилка.
is not
Вот семя
something you
в
hold.
земле. Вы его поливаете. Так.
Let's
В семени
say
есть вожделение.
there is land and the
Энергия
seeds
жизни,
in
да,
it,
кама.
and you water
Это
it.
кама, вожделение.
In the material world,
Даже в
lust
песке в этой
is called
семечке.
kama.
И
Even
что
in
вы
that
должны
seed,
делать?
there
Вы
is
должны
kama.
направить его.
So what you need to do, you
Оно
need
может
to
просто
direct it.
сгнить.
It can be
Или
even,
лежать без дела,
it
без
can be
почвы, без
either
полива,
rotten,
допустим, семя.
become
Ну и что?
rotten there,
Так можно прожить
or
жизнь.
stay there in a dried form.
Вот. Есть также выбор этого
There is a
семени.
choice.
Выбор.
You can
Какое
choose
посадите семя?
the seed to plant.
Какую культуру?
What
Это будет
seed,
фруктовое
what
дерево, или
culture?
это пшеница, или это будет
It
что?
could be,
Или это будет
wheat
сорняк какой-то вы
or
выберете, или просто
some-
красивый цветок. Так?
Some weed
Это вы
or
решаете.
some
Да?
fruit tree.
С какое желание вы будете
This is
себя
your
культивировать,
choice.
вот это вожделение. Если вы хотите
How do you
из вожделения
cultivate your
создать
lust?
что-то прекрасное, тогда вы должны
If
взять
you want to
уже
make something
потенциально высокую цель.
good, something
Здесь
nice,
написано, да, гладиолус.
you
Вот,
need to
мне нужно гладиолус.
take
Вам что нужно? Любовь к Богу. Берите. Любовь
the
к Богу. Там
highest
инструкция.
purpose,
Сажаете
highest
семя.
goal.
Поливаете чем?
You
Святым
put this
именем.
seed,
Почва, регулирующая
you
принципы.
water it
И
with
она
the
растет,
holy
смотрите,
names,
и постепенно превращается
you
в семя.
cultivate
Это ваше
the
вожделение.
dirt
Но
with the four
соприкосновение с этим
principles.
желанием превращается в стебель,
Because of your
растущий
desire,
дальше,
higher desire,
цветы особого
your
вида и
seed
сорта,
will
и плод
turn
особого
into
вида и сорта. Вот так
a supreme
всё происходит. Трансформируется все в любовь к Богу.
fruit,
Но должны взять
supreme
достойное
plant.
семя. Семя
This
—
is
это
love
ваша
for
цель,
God.
почву соответствующую и так далее.
Seed is your desire,
Копить,
and you take appropriate
ojas,
dirt. There is no
он
need
вас разорвет, если
to pile up
вы
the
не избавитесь
ojas.
от вожделения.
It will tear you apart. If you are
Либо вас
lusty,
разорвет, либо кого-то другого разорвете. этим ojas.
you will either tear yourself
Демоны,
apart or
они
someone
обретают
else.
ситхи при помощи йоги.
For example,
Чем
demons,
занимаются? Дерутся все.
they are getting the siddhas, and they are fighting all the
Они
time.
объявляют тут же войну.
Immediately they
Теперь я сильный, все меня боятся.
declare the war to everyone
Всех
because I'm powerful.
Это не наша практика.
It's not our practice.
Здесь кончились вопросы.
Okay, we don't have any questions.